You are watching never-before-seen footage of Rafa and his endless micro-missile spam, ready to take the fight to Idolator Soul and defeat the first big boss in Borderlands 4. That's right, my friends, this is an exclusive reveal for Borderlands 4. I'm so excited, I can genuinely barely contain my excitement. Though there are other previews coming out around about now too, none will be quite like this. I can't imagine many people are playing as Rafa. The impression I get is that most people want to main Vex or Amon. Therefore, I wanted to choose something a little bit different, someone a little bit less obvious, and even among those who are previewing Rafa, the chances that they are running this infinite missile spam build with these weapons is astronomically small. So strap in as I take you through Soul's Fortress and we try to take out one of the Timekeeper's lieutenants. Just before we assault the fortress, another thing I must note before we get into it is that today you will only be seeing footage of Fortress Indomitor, and all discussion will be contained within this area also. So for those who don't want any story spoilers, this is perfect for you. Don't worry, 2K have explicitly stated to us that we are not to discuss any other parts of the game outside of this section, and therefore any characters that you do see me interacting with, we will have no idea who they are, and for the most part, no context equals no spoilers. That being said, there is one line I am allowed to read to you, so for those who would like a bit of context, after arriving in the Fade Fields, the player Vault Hunter has teamed up with the Crimson Resistance in their fight against Idolator Soul, one of the Timekeeper's lieutenants. Now the player is taking the fight to Soul's Fortress. And with that, my friends, let's get cracking. As we are getting into this first fight, we're beginning to storm the fortress, and for the most part, I'll just let this mission play out in full so you can see the game in all its glory, and I'll jump in every now and then with explanations of what's going on and bits of information here and there to give you a better understanding of just how flipping awesome everything is. Okay, my friends, now that I have finished shopping and looting, as you can hear, the main antagonist for this area will not shut up, and I don't want us trying to vie for attention, so I'm going to let him finish his speech, and I will speak to you in a minute once he's done talking. Straight away, one thing I'll say is I adore the rapid movement, the verticality, the aerial combat of Borderlands 4. They have really gone ham with all of these new features and abilities. And I don't know how it feels to watch as someone who hasn't played it. Does it look chaotic? Because it isn't, I can promise you that. And Rafa, especially the build I've gone for, where he's got his two gigantic shoulder-mounted bloody machine guns, there is a lot of stuff on the screen, but do not let that put you off if you are someone who enjoys minimal HUD. It honestly doesn't get in the way. It's only now that I'm watching the footage back and I'm audioing over it that I'm thinking, my god, there's a lot of stuff on the screen, isn't there? But it doesn't feel like it. I absolutely promise you that. It does not feel like it. Another thing that I think is really, really interesting is anyone who is familiar with Borderlands will be familiar with the radial compass at the top right. You can actually remove that now and you can have the enemies show up on your actual kind of bar compass in the top middle of the screen instead. if you would like a little bit less clutter on the screen. The reason I've gone back to the old style radial compass is I really like the positional situational awareness. That really helps me as someone who frequently loses track of where I am on the battlefield. So yeah, now that we have finished this fight, I'm just going to run around the room, re-ammoing up, seeing if there's any guns for me to loot. So this is probably a good time for me to talk about the build that I am running for this area. I will show off my skills for you later, but basically I have lots and lots of skills that will allow me to spam micro missiles that will automatically target the enemies that I'm fighting in various different ways. And obviously you have so many different tools, so many different utility options available to you in this game as well. One thing you'll see me using quite a lot, especially on the boss at the end of the video, is my massive rocket launcher, and this heavy ordnance is actually in replacement of a grenade. You can have either a grenade or this rocket launcher, and it automatically replens its ammo over time. I love it. Such a cool mechanic. And you know what? As we head into the next section of this area, I am actually going to whip open my skill tree now and talk you through a couple of things now so you can see what that looks like, because I do have a skill point to spend. So this is your main inventory, which I'll show off a bit later. Let's first head into the skill tree. I'm now just going to read through the next row of skills that I've just unlocked, and we can go through and see a few of the things that Rafa can do together. So asymmetric warfare, indirect projectiles gain increased damage. Indirect projectiles include all action skill weapons, thrown guns, and projectiles not fired from your gun. This fits so damn perfectly with my build that even though I am going to show you what the other skills on this line of the tree do, I'm not going to bother talking about them for the purposes of this video. Asymmetric warfare is where it's at. This is going to be so perfect for my build. As I was briefly explaining just a minute ago, I have many ways through my weapons, through my shield, through my additional equipment to trigger lots of, as the game calls it, indirect projectiles. And this is going to give them an extra 9% damage, and they already deal crazy amounts of damage. I am very, very excited for this. As we're on this screen already, and I'm just looking through a few of the other skills as well, you also have augments here. As you'll see, I currently have Instinto equipped. There are 2 augments you unlock very early on, and you unlock 3 more augments further down the tree. But just because you unlock them later, they're not necessarily better, they're just different. The build variety in this game is insane. It's more than ever before, and that's saying something. So now if I go back to my inventory, I can show you here on my armor shield. Every time I kill an enemy, that's going to spawn missiles that home in on nearby enemies and deal loads of damage to them. And that skill I've just picked up makes them do even more. And every time an armor segment breaks, I launch even more missiles. And that's just one of the pieces of equipment I've got that lets me launch lots of additional things at my enemies. Such as my enhancement here. Any torque guns will also fire projectiles that explode on proximity. And even my heavy ordnance weapon here, the replacement of my grenade, again, lots and lots of explosions, lots of ways to trigger that new skill that I just unlocked. So now you've seen the menus, you've seen the skills, you know a little bit more about what this build is about. Let's get straight back into the action and fight the next wave of enemies as we are rushing to disable Soul's airship. Now here I'm finally getting out that gigantic heavy rocket launcher I was talking about. It just melts everyone. Honestly, like, they were not joking when they said that somehow they had managed to make Borderlands have even more guns than ever before. They really truly have made that work. This legendary gun you now see me wielding with this gigantic scope on top, believe it or not, this is a shotgun. And it's a shotgun where the shells travel up. That is correct. So they travel up for a second or so, then they explode, and they rain down a bunch of bombs wherever you are aiming. It is absolutely awesome. It's very hard to use effectively. I I'm very confused about exactly how far it travels, but that's probably just me being an inexperienced player, because I don't often play video games with floating shotgun shells. But there you go. Maybe you'll be better at it than me. But they're incredibly fun. And all of these projectiles, they count as indirect gunfire. So they're going to be doing even more damage now than they already were. And you'll see throughout this video, there are so many times when I come up on an elite and I use my action skill to pull out my Peacebreaker cannons, then I switch to my shotgun or my rocket launcher, and even badasses just absolutely melt. It is ridiculous. Oh, actually, bearing in mind as well, something I should have said, you'll probably see that most enemies in this area are level 18. There is an element of level scaling in this game. Enemies will level up to you, but enemies won't level down to you. And ideally, this is a level 18 area. I am technically ever so slightly underleveled, and most of my gear is quite inefficient as well. The reason I bring this up is actually for two different reasons. Firstly, I feel like this is a more accessible Borderlands than previous titles. I've really struggled with previous titles if I have tried to play on the highest difficulty, or if I have just been underleveled. I am only playing on normal here, but just so you know, actually, no, I've been told not to stray off topic. As much as I want to, I don't know if I'm allowed to, but I'm playing on normal, and what I'm getting at is I feel like I could smash the game out on hard as well, and I actually really want my next playthrough to be on hard, because it feels very accessible whilst still having that challenge. And you'll see what I mean. You'll see what I mean when we get to the boss when I talk about challenge. It is dicey, and I nearly died on a dozen occasions. But hopefully here, as we're just mopping up this second area, you are all seeing just how gorgeous this game is. I've always loved the art style of Borderlands, and they've somehow made it look even better whilst still retaining the heart of the Borderlands art style. And yeah, honestly, there are more guns and more skills and more abilities than I have ever seen before, but it doesn't feel overwhelming. And especially, that's big praise coming from me, because even though I have played all Borderlands games, I never played them to the point of doing, like, the super bosses at the end of the games. What do they call them? Like, the invincible bosses? Is that right? I never did any of, like, the DLC content. I never did all of the super hardcore end game content. Borderlands 4, this is the first time I am feeling like I probably do want to do that. And of course, as always, my friends, I'm going to have a review coming up when the game releases as well, along with many other guides and my tried and true, my classic Things You Missed series. So if you're not already following the channel, make sure you do so, and you can keep an eye out for all my guides coming up when it releases officially. And now, I'm just trying to think of what other context I should be giving you. Things on the screen that probably don't make sense to you because you haven't seen them before. You'll see assigned to T down the bottom left there, that is my rep kit. You now have a dedicated heal. Don't worry, it's not as overpowered as it sounds. You are still going to have to rely on healing drops from your enemies as well, and you are going to have to play tactically, and you are going to have to play well, because it does have a long cooldown, and it's not like an instantaneous full heal. But what it does act as, is an additional form of loot, an additional form of equipment. Your heals can also have really cool perks and buffs on them that are going to help to synergize with the rest of your build. Absolutely awesome. Another thing I will say is there is actually a bunch of secrets and collectibles and things like that hidden around this fortress as well. I have recorded footage of me going around and collecting them all, but I don't know what benefit that's really going to give you as a viewer at the moment. Like, you don't care where the secrets are. You don't have your hands on the game yet. So I just thought I'd let you know that they do exist in various forms. So in the fortress here, you can collect a few echo logs, so you can get some lore about the big boss of this area. And there's one or two vault symbols as well. So if you collect these vault symbols, they're going to give you a form of currency that will allow you to increase your ammo count, increase your inventory count, stuff like that. Really love that. Definitely worth collecting. so that you can hold all of the guns and that you don't keep running out of space. Right now, as we are getting into this next area, I'm going to shut up and just allow you to fully appreciate a fight without me or hopefully any of the NPCs talking over it, so that you can just really appreciate the beauty in the chaos that is Borderlands 4. So now we have fought most of Idolator Soul's forces, and we are gearing up and getting ready to go and defeat him. As you can see off screen, I also changed my customization. There are loads of different cosmetics and styles and helms, etc. I look completely different now, and in my opinion, I look absolutely sick. And now I'm just making sure I have all of the equipment that I need before we jump down this elevator shaft and get ready to face Idolator Soul. So I'll shut up while the cutscene plays out, and I'll see you on the other side.
The obligation of the weak is to nourish the strong. You will die, and I will return to the Timekeeper's side. May we rule forever.
Now, this dude was so much scarier than I thought he would be, considering how much I've been melting the rest of the enemies in this area. He required proper strategy. So firstly, as you can see, you have to throw these spikes at him. I won't go into the lore behind them because they aren't included in the fortress, so probably not allowed to. But you throw these spikes at him, that makes him vulnerable, and I can now start dealing damage to him. So if I now pull out that rocket launcher again, look how quickly I am chunking down his first health bar. At this point, I'm quietly confident that this is going to be an easy fight. Then suddenly he sucks out the life force of one of his soldiers, and he's now invincible again. And I'm like, oh, damn it, okay, maybe not quite so easy. So let's throw another one of these things at him and make him vulnerable again. But as you chunk down his 3 health bars, he has phases, and he starts to get more and more very evil attacks. So I will just let the next part of the fight play out, and I will talk to you again when he starts to unlock some even more nasty abilities, and you can really see the true power of the terrifying boss encounters in Borderlands 4. Now here, I shat myself. I was like, what are you doing? What is happening? And I completely mess up what I'm supposed to do here. You're supposed to go and hide in the small segments that he's facing towards. Obviously, that is not at all what I did. Luckily, I managed to kill one of his lackeys to get myself back up again just in the nick of time. Then I go down again immediately. Same thing happens again. This is a terrifying start to phase 2. And he does this again later on in the fight, and it lasts even longer. I do manage to live through the whole thing, but it's bloody dicey. I cannot wait for you to see that in just a minute. Obviously, as you can see, he's gone invincible again, so I have to wait for him to rain them spikes down from the sky, and they get more intense and more aggressive as well as the fight goes on. It really does lure you into a false sense of security at the start of the fight. You think, oh, he's melting, this is going to be so easy. And then he must have like 4 different phases. He starts to whip out so many terrifying attacks. And I'm just so grateful that I had such a tanky OP build to help me survive this fight. Or I think this probably would have taken me quite some time to accomplish. At this point, I'm finally realizing I'm supposed to be shooting the pustules on his legs, and that's what makes me do crits, because he is getting tankier and he is taking no damage. And this is that phase 3 version of whatever the heck this move is that I was talking about. This ring gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and it gets really dicey towards the end. You really need to use that air dash to be able to get into these rings, and you've got to like really manage your stamina as well, because you can't just dash forwards when you're on the ground. You can dash left and right, and you can dash back, but if you want to dash forwards, you have to be in the air first, which isn't a good or a bad thing, it's just a thing, and it makes this segment crazy scary. Like, oh, look how close I was to nearly losing my shields on that last little bit, but I got in. And he's now on half of a health bar left. But he gets really scary from this point on. So now the whole entirety of the edge of the arena is on fire with his weird poison, corruption, blight stuff. He is spitting down so many of them spikes. He's doing full arena AoE sweeps. He just becomes an absolute powerhouse of a boss. Genuinely terrifying, this final phase. As you can see, again, just barely get my second wind, and now my grenades are not doing anywhere near as much damage as they were previously, but hopefully one more cycle and he should be down. And finally, last couple of seconds, there we are. He is dead. Of course, you've got to unload a few clips in just afterwards, just in case. Just in case. And in good old Borderlands fashion, he spews out hundreds of thousands of loots. So now we can go upstairs and we can loot the iconic red chests for lots and lots and lots of awesome weapons, including a new legendary shield for me that I cannot wait to equip for the next area. And that's pretty much all I had for you today, my friends. Make sure you do keep an eye out for the other content I have coming. I've got my review coming, along with gameplay tips, build guides, secrets, things you missed, lots and lots of good stuff on the way. So please make sure you're subscribed, and apart from that, all that's left for me to say is thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.